My name is Rahayu Amira Putri, and I was born on a stormy August night in Yogyakarta, Indonesia. My mother often said that the monsoon winds carried whispers of my destiny, swirling through the wooden shutters of our small house, nestled between the rice fields and the ever-watchful Mount Merapi. I grew up in a home woven with love and resilience. My father, Bapak Hadi, was a humble craftsman, known for his intricate batik designs, while my mother, Ibu Sinta, spent her days tending to our modest warung, selling sweet jasmine tea and nasi goreng to weary travelers. My older brother, Arjuna, was my protector, my rival, my partner in mischief. And my grandmother, Nenexray, was the keeper of our stories, whispering ancient folk tales into my eager ears under the glow of an oil lamp. Our family belonged to the working class, never rich but never lacking in the wealth of togetherness. Childhood was an unbroken string of adventures, racing through the emerald green rice paddies, collecting fireflies in glass jars, and dancing barefoot in the rain, laughing as the heavens poured their blessings upon us. I still remember the scent of wet earth, mixed with the spicy aroma of my mother's sambal, lingering in the humid air. As I grew older, the whispers of destiny became louder, urging me to venture beyond the familiar comforts of our village. My parents, with their weathered hands and warm smiles, supported my dreams of pursuing higher education in the city, despite the hardship it would bring to our family. And so, with a heart full of gratitude and determination, I left behind the fields of my childhood and embarked on a new chapter of my life. The city was a whirlwind of noise and chaos, a stark contrast to the serene simplicity of home. I struggled to adapt, feeling like a small fish in a vast ocean. But with the unwavering support of my family and the resilience instilled in me by my upbringing, I found my footing. The world around me. Indonesia is a land of contrasts, of bustling cities and silent temples, of ancient traditions clashing with modern aspirations. As a child, I marveled at the colors of our culture. The golden shimmer of wayang kulit puppets, the haunting melody of the gamelan, the floral patterns of our kebaya. Life revolved around faith and festivities. Ramadan nights filled with the echoes of prayer, the joyous explosions of fireworks during Eid, the reverence of Nyepi's silent reflection. But there were shadows too. Politics wove an uncertain future. Corruption, unrest, and natural disasters, each left its mark upon the people. Education, especially for girls in rural areas, was a privilege often sacrificed to tradition. Many believed a woman's place was at home, tending to children, not in the halls of universities chasing dreams. Yet, I dreamed. I dreamed of breaking free from expectations, of unearthing the knowledge hidden in books, of seeing the world beyond the fields and temples. I refused to accept the limitations placed upon me. I sought out every opportunity to learn, to grow, to defy the norms that held so many back. I studied late into the night, sneaking away to read in secret when my duties were done. I sought out mentors, teachers who saw my potential and nurtured it, even when society told them it was a wasted effort. I fought against the whispers and the doubts, determined to carve out my own path. And slowly, I began to see the fruits of my labor. I excelled in my studies, earning scholarships and opportunities that seemed impossible for a girl from my village. I became a voice for change, speaking out against the injustices that held back so many. Dreams and struggles. I found solace in school, losing myself in pages of history and poetry. My teachers recognized my hunger for learning and encouraged me to dream beyond the confines of my village. But not everyone shared their enthusiasm. When I expressed my desire to study abroad, my father hesitated. "A woman's place is with her family," he said. "Who will care for us when you leave?" It wasn't just his words, it was the unspoken fears of many. That I would change, that I would forget my roots, that the world beyond would swallow me whole. The road to education was steep, lined with obstacles both seen and unseen. Money was scarce, opportunities even scarcer. I worked tirelessly, tutoring younger children, selling my mother's homemade coup lapis at the market, all while chasing scholarships that could be my golden ticket out. Then, one day, a letter arrived. A scholarship. A chance to study journalism in Jakarta. My heart pounded as I read and reread the words, hardly believing them. But excitement quickly turned to dread. How could I convince my family? My grandmother, ever wise, took my hands in hers and said, "Go, my child. Tell the stories the world needs to hear." And so, with a suitcase full of borrowed hope, I left. I left behind my small village, my family, and everything I had ever known, but I was filled with determination and a burning desire to make a difference. Jakarta was a whirlwind of noise and chaos, but I was determined to make the most of this opportunity. I threw myself into my studies, soaking up every bit of knowledge and experience that came my way. I wrote articles, conducted interviews, and poured my heart and soul into every story I told. And slowly but surely, I began to make a name for myself. But as much as I loved being in Jakarta, my heart ached for my family back home. A world transformed. Jakarta was chaos and wonder, a symphony of honking horns, neon lights, and voices from every corner of the archipelago. I felt like a small fish in an ocean, both terrified and exhilarated. The city held opportunities and dangers alike, and as a young woman navigating its labyrinth, I'd learned resilience. Then, everything changed.
It was a warm September afternoon when the ground beneath me trembled. A powerful earthquake struck the city, toppling buildings, sending waves of panic through the streets. I was trapped in my boarding house, heart pounding as the walls cracked, dust filling my lungs. Time stretched, each second an eternity, until, at last, the tremors ceased. I stumbled outside to find a city in ruins, people crying for loved ones, the air thick with despair. For the first time, I understood the power of stories. I picked up my notebook and began documenting everything: the fear, the hope, the resilience of strangers helping one another. My articles found their way into local newspapers, and for the first time, I felt my voice mattered. I became a beacon of hope for my community, sharing their stories of survival and resilience. As the city slowly began to rebuild, I continued to write, giving a voice to those who had lost everything. My words became a source of comfort and inspiration, reminding people that they were not alone in their struggles. Through the power of storytelling, I found a sense of purpose and a way to make a difference in the lives of those around me. And as the city rose from the rubble, so did the spirit of its people, stronger and more united than ever before. And it all started with a notebook and a determination to share the stories that needed to be heard. The road to purpose. That earthquake changed me. It made me realize that stories were more than just words, they were lifelines, testaments to survival, bridges between the past and the future. I dedicated myself to journalism, determined to be a voice for those unheard. There were struggles, of course. Late nights, rejections, the loneliness of being away from home. But every letter from my grandmother, every encouraging word from my mother, reminded me why I had begun this journey. Years later, I stood at the steps of my village's school, sharing my story with young girls who dared to dream. Education is not just for the privileged, I told them. It is for those who dare to fight for it. My journey had come full circle. I was no longer just a girl from Yogyakarta, I was a storyteller, a witness, a dreamer who refused to be silent. And as the monsoon winds whispered through the fields, I knew my story was only beginning. I remember the day I realized the power of stories. It was a hot, humid day in my village in Yogyakarta, and I was sitting under the shade of a tree, listening to my grandmother weave tales of her youth. Her words transported me to a different time and place, and I felt the weight of history and tradition in every word she spoke. It was then that I knew I wanted to be a storyteller. I wanted to give voice to the unheard, to be a bridge between the past and the future. And so, I dedicated myself to journalism, determined to make a difference through the power of words. The journey was not easy.